Today, we're going to do a quick top 10. And what this means is we're going to share with you, in light of the COVID-19 era, where everybody is working from home, some of the key challenges of meeting people, whether socially, whether that with family, but predominantly for this particular episode at work. I would ask you to avoid any particular order in mind. I believe they're all very important. And we will state the tip, we will elaborate, and then move on. So we'll start with Lisa.
Thanks very much, Esther. Welcome back, everyone. So the top 3 tips that I would like to recommend to you all is to leverage your network for warm introductions, for volunteering, and then to join external industry groups. I'll elaborate on each of them individually. So warm introductions. Warm introductions actually helps to accelerate relationships. And in the era of COVID, where we are all virtual, it's actually an effective way to have somebody introduce you to another individual who might help to enhance or progress your individual skills or the opportunity that you might want to pursue in the future. It just helps to speed that up. If you think of a network as one bubble where you have 10 of your own connections, it's actually much broader than that. Those 10 individual connections that you have actually spawn off into 25, 30, 40, 50 connections. What it means, though, is that you have to be proactive to be able to ask for that warm introduction to be able to accomplish your short-term and long-term goals. The second one to elaborate further on is volunteer. Volunteering is extremely important for 2 reasons. One is it really helps to satisfy some of the smaller community aspects of our lives that sometimes gets shortchanged, so to speak, because of how busy things are for us. So it helps us really for revitalization, so to speak. But it also helps us with networking. There are lots of other people around in your community, even within your workspace, that when you volunteer together, you make connections. So think of your companies might have volunteer days, they might have junior achievers. Those types of things are volunteer events that you can participate in when appropriate, even if it's virtual, that will help to expand and broaden your network. And then the last one that I would recommend is industry networking groups. So probably one that's common for our group is Women in IT. A lot of the financial institutions, public sector members are all part of those. Those types of networking groups are also really good for networking. They do have a lot of virtual sessions that are available as well. So we're just wrapping up Black History Month. Your company would have, most companies will have a visible minority type of diversity group. Participate in them. Even if you're not a visible minority person, you're going to have people who are supporting community types of events in the organization. Participate in those types of things. What you need to do is to be bold and to be brave and to actually go ahead and tag in somebody that resonated with you in that moment and create that networking opportunity. Now, one last thing. These are not individual things. They actually all work interchangeably together. So you could be at a volunteer network where you'll meet somebody that will warm introduce you to another advocate and another ally, right? The same thing for one of those industry networks. These things actually all work together to be able to get you to the actual outcome of broadening your network, which really at the end of the day helps you with your short-term and long-term goals.
To Sarah.
I'm going to build because I think the key part there is that everything is intertwined and interchangeable. So I'll give you my top 3, which is the first one, LinkedIn. What a great platform for networking. Anytime that hopefully you all have a LinkedIn account, I'm sure you do. If you don't, get one. The best thing about LinkedIn is you can connect with anybody, anywhere, in any industry, as long as they have a LinkedIn account. And once you're on there, if you ever meet with somebody, the first thing you should do is follow up with them with a LinkedIn request. And LinkedIn is a great way for you to really showcase yourself, build your own brand. So start posting on LinkedIn. Post things that are personal to you in the business context. It's not social media like Instagram or TikTok or Snapchat or Facebook. It's really meant for the business context. So it's a really unique opportunity for you to post something in the business context that can showcase who you are. I've been doing a lot of reading on LinkedIn, and what they are saying is that LinkedIn is the platform that Facebook was in 2012. So there's a really big opportunity for you to get in now and exploit the features. Exploit, you may not like that word, but utilize the features that LinkedIn has. Posting, they now have a live feature, they have a story feature, you can post a blog, you can post videos, all of those different things to really put yourself out there a little bit more. And you will be very surprised as to what comes from that. You can get speaking gigs, you can get job opportunities, you can really explore different potential opportunities that you never thought possible. So I'm a big fan of LinkedIn. Get on there, connect with all of us here, and let's start to be active. My second tip is around virtual event. Join a virtual event of your topic of whatever you feel like. It doesn't have to be related to your particular job. It could be anything that you're interested in. Join it. Like Lisa said, be bold, and then connect with people afterwards. Say, hey, I saw that you attended this event. What did you think about it? And start a conversation that way. You will never know where that leads to. I had somebody who reached out to me through LinkedIn because I attended a virtual event. She said, hey, I saw that you were on this event. I'm interested in getting into sales, which is what I do, and which was a similar webinar that I attended. And she's like, can you have a conversation? I said, absolutely. She was fantastic about that reach out and then that follow up, and we had a really great conversation. The third tip I have is networking within your own company. It's really hard with the day-to-day meetings, grind, emails, and so on to really take the time out to network with your team members or other people in your employee or in your company. No longer can you just walk past somebody in the cafeteria and have a quick conversation. That no longer exists. So how do you recreate it? Well, it's really difficult to do so. However, you could just put 15 minutes on somebody's calendar. A 15-minute time slot is so unassuming. It's not 30 minutes. It's not a big time commitment. It's really just a checkpoint. 15 minutes, have a quick conversation just to connect, keep it light, keep it personal, and it will allow you to stay connected with your colleagues and potentially even meet new people. They could be coffee chats. They could be just, hey, how's it going? Or maybe under the guise of, hey, I have this question. What do you think about it? But take the time to target people within your organization that you want to have a conversation with. Put 15 minutes on their calendar so it's not so daunting for them, and keep it light, gain rapport quickly, and it will be a very useful time networking with those people. And same time for the managers. Again, we have so many meetings throughout the day. Oftentimes you're on 10-hour day meetings, which gets really, really exhausting. There is a way to downsize your meeting list. And that means thinking about those long-term, those hour-long meetings, shrink them down. And if it's one-on-one with an employee, it doesn't have to always be about business. And it could just be a 15-minute chat over coffee, or go for walks together on the phone. Don't make it tied to video either. So there's a way that you can change the way that you interact with your employees to really make it a little bit more personal, take a bit of the pressure off, and then make it so that you have a bit of lightness in your day that's not always about work.
So the last 7, 8, 9, and then the 10th tip, I like to have a collaborative viewpoint with everybody involved. And this segues to our gotcha question, which is turned into tip number 10. My particular tip is somewhat seated in all of what Lisa and Sarah had mentioned. Tip is really about offering virtual mentorship in a proactive manner. This is part of that mantra in providing that platform to mentor via a social media platform. However, it needs that personability where an individual has known you for a while in the workforce, and you're offering that, because there are some times in this era of COVID that people are feeling genuinely a little bit conservative on asking for more time online. And I personally had shared some of these challenges with Lisa and Sarah just recently, in that you feel somewhat guilty in asking for more time. But if it is time that you're asking for them, the betterment of them, and you are offering that, what a great way to then take that moment and have somebody understand that they're really invested, or understand that you are invested in them in a personal manner, and that you had the audacity to reach out first. What I would say in terms of using the varied communication tools that we have is just that, variation. It is being able to communicate, but not just in WebEx, because a lot of people are taking platforms like Zoom and video, and physically we are exhausted from just looking at the screen. So variation is key to networking in the context that you can pick up the phone, you can text, you can Slack, you can ask for that one-to-one short moment of time just to talk on social means versus business topics. However, the key is in variation. A lot of people need to understand that different people receive information differently. And so now when you're now in that narrow zone of virtual is the only way to now network with someone, you now need to vary it up. And one of the great moments I've had in 2020 was a virtual escape room I did with my report. I found out it had a lot of varied tenets of what it could do to have me understand better their problem solving skills without them knowing, their ability to team and collaborate without them knowing per se. Thirdly, being able to communicate, because we were doing a virtual escape room. You're now looking at different skills and heightened levels of sensory because you're not in the physical room and you're depending on somebody else that's in the physical room. And so being able to explain, problem solve, and communicate effectively as a virtual team becomes that much more challenged and heightened. And the ability to collaborate as a team in a manner, in a venue that was purely made for social. The last tip, tip number 10, and ladies, I'd like you to unmic yourself because this is going to segue to that gotcha moment that we always have in every single episode. In the light of COVID and being restricted in how you navigate on the effect of water cooler fountain effect, being able to get personable and genuine, how do we network in virtual mode using all the tools that we just talked about and do it genuinely with people we don't get along with?
Oh.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Good one.
Because here's the moment of aha. In a lot of cases, we can work around that scenario by making it a lunch. You can make a virtual lunch, but the ambiance of bringing somebody in that may be a hostile rapport, or that might be a hostile customer or a client or a hostile business partner becomes that much more relaxed if you're bringing them into a restaurant for a meal. And so you can now build upon that challenge with that situation. But genuinely, we are human beings at the end of the day. We know who we like, who we get along with, and who we definitively are not people that we would befriend. Hence, how do we do that effectively now and still get work done, still be productive, and still try to be somewhat genuine?
Two suggestions, and it's by no means the right answer because the caveat being it's someone you don't get along with, right? One is I think another individual or individuals tends to break up the uncomfortableness of dealing with someone who you are uncomfortable with.
Yes.
And as a segue to having a third party or parties in a virtual setting is the idea of finding a common denominator. Common denominator, I think, helps to create a platform or a balance of how you could work together and create professionalism, a level of respect, tolerance, and patience. So if you're in a meeting with 2 or 3 people, there's a person there that's difficult. You know, maybe everybody has kids, and the common denominator is your children. Maybe everybody cycles. Maybe you know, there are those individuals who travel, or you know, have elderly parents. There's something that's there that is common, and you can usually pick that up by the interaction of the person that you might not get along with and the person that you do get along with. They'll talk about something that might create that common denominator for you, and then you can tag into that.
Yes, finding that common denominator is important. I'll give a point of view. It may or may not work, but it's, what if you don't have a common denominator and you're still forced? And right. I will have the point of view as a seller, because I'm a sales professional, because that's what I do. And what I've found is, throughout the pandemic, salespeople can be very creative. And what a lot of people are doing is, I'll say, just because Lisa mentioned it, forcing a common denominator by sending something to that person that you have to have this conversation or networking conversation with, and use that as the foundation for the common denominator. So for example, lots of virtual tastings, if you will, sending a bottle of wine, sending I don't want to make it all alcohol. I did a virtual tea tasting with my team last year. So what it does is, hey, ship something, and there's a number of different companies that are out there that allow you to ship something to somebody where you don't even need their address. They get a link, they click on the link, and they fill out their address. So there's no exchange of confidential or private information there. So these companies will facilitate sending something, an item, like I said, alcohol, that's easy. It could be food, it could be some other type of gift. And that now, and if you give them the instruction of, hey, don't open this until our meeting, that now becomes the foundation for the conversation. Again, it's very light. I'm a big fan of keeping things light during the pandemic because it's hard. Yes. So if you already instill a positive experience, that makes the awkwardness or the challenging conversation with somebody else hopefully a lot easier.
Being able to have a lot more touch points on a one-to-one. If you find a lot of friction scenarios in groups, it gives you that opportunity to just pick up the phone, and at that moment of friction, giving it a moment of peace or a pause, and then picking up the phone soon after and suggesting how you genuinely felt that particular uncomfortable situation, or maybe a negative relationship scenario had made you feel, making it a little bit more of a human interchange, and suggesting that a lot of people are going through things that people may not be aware of at this moment in time, and that we could all excuse each other and give each other a little bit more grace. So with that, thanks so much, everybody. And we're looking forward to the next episode with you, but we will open up the commentary below. Please give us your suggestions if you have any for a top 10 list, or in some cases, a top 5 list if you wanted a short splurt of an episode, and we are open to the commentaries. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.